Welcome back to our post-game show, and the Dolphins lost. It was a pretty bad second half, and I guess we'll start with a kind of interesting comment from Jamar Taylor in regards to this. Was it the second Odell Beckham touchdown? Where it was like a blown coverage, and both myself and Ian think it's not on Jamar, it's on Rashad Jones. But kind of, so if it was Jamar, like, that was the weirdest cover two in the world then. Or like, well, if it was Jamar, it wasn't cover two, and like Rashad was playing it really late and leaving like the was it like the post underneath he went to?
Yeah, Jones. Yeah, Jones was cutting down on the slant route, and obviously it was just an easy cut up field. Looked like Jamar was either covering a post or trying to go onto a curl route. So just, it was very simple, very blatant how that coverage set up. I mean, he read the slant. Jones read the slant, cut down on it as hard as he could. And I mean, look, that's the type of player he is. That's exactly why you get the big plays from him. You get the big hits, you get the big interceptions. And credit to the Giants. I don't know if that was just an improv slant and go. I don't know if that was just something between Eli and it almost looks like it was. Looks like it was a little bit more improvised than what was planned, because it was. I mean, Eli had so much time in the pocket that, I mean, he just watched him run downfield, and by the time he threw it, he was already 20 yards open. But to me, I know Jamar said that it was on him. And maybe it was, but I don't know what kind of coverage that was then, because it was so late that Jones was clearly breaking on the slant. I mean, that's cover two, textbook. I mean, I don't know what else you could really say about it.
And it's like, if it's man coverage, I don't know why he's giving, like, he wouldn't give up that early in the play. Like, there's no reason for him to, like, whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's like, I literally have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else
literally speechless. Yeah, there's like, it's unless I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just so bizarre. It could just be him literally being like, oh, I know Jamal was like, I know Rashad was like trying to make a big play. Like, we talked about this earlier in the year, when there's a head coaching change, like players start playing for themselves, and like it's very evident Rashad's trying to make the Pro Bowl. So maybe like Rashad was just like, yo, I'll give you some money if you just take the blame, and then that like helps his Pro Bowl chances, maybe like the touchdown not being on him. But I mean, like, if I'm charting that, that's a negative play on Rashad for me, regardless of what like people say, because I mean, we've seen a lot people lie. So I don't know, someone's saying it could be too high man under, but
yeah, I mean, I just had a former Dolphin even tweet. He's like, dude, that was cover two, no question.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else you can explain it. It's really just, I mean, it's as simple as you get.
Yeah. So Jamal's probably getting a little bit extra on his paycheck, would be my guess. Should we move on to? Is there anything else defensively you want to talk about? There was a pretty bad third down play by Phillips, missed tackle, that the third and short in the last 3 minutes, and we've kind of talked about, at least he didn't get blown off the ball, and he like got off the guard. It was a single team. He got off the guard, but he just missed the tackle in, and like, so at least he's showing like improvement in like winning at the point of attack, but it's just like making the full play. There was a couple other times he was getting blown off the ball, but he did make one really good play against the run, which we're kind of looking for now, because he's like shown at least awareness against the pass. He had one play where I think maybe it was
when
Jenkins, who had the
Yep.
stop, and he got
Yep.
like penetration. So that's good to see, especially as he's getting single teams all the time. You want to see him like being able to impact the run game. But there's other instances when there were even stops against the run, but like Phillips was being pushed back behind the sticks. So it's not perfect yet, but there's like at least some more flashes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be like a year probably until, or maybe even more until like he learns how to play against the run. And because if we're seeing him struggle against single teams,
Yeah.
and really he needs to be beating double teams, so
Yeah.
he's got to evolve still.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I'm fairly happy with where he is as a rookie. I didn't even really expect to see him too much. What did we guess for him on snaps entering this year? Like 200?
Yeah, but
I
I
think we
mean,
guessed around 200. I
that's
mean,
partly
I
due
know
to
it's not
injury.
ideal. Yeah, I know. The circumstances certainly aren't ideal, but
And
I mean,
also, we
there's some
thought
positives though.
it would be a logical defensive tackle rotation. We didn't think they would be rotating nose tackles for all three downs. We thought there'd be like another third, like we thought either edge players or another free tech would be getting these snaps.
Yeah,
But for some
I
reason, we're
mean,
playing nose tackles every down.
and I'll go a little positive too here. At least they're giving him the snaps. They're giving him a lot of snaps right now, um, which is good. I
There's
mean,
no one else though.
I know,
Yeah.
but
I guess they could
I'm
be
going with the
playing
positive.
like,
They could be
yeah,
playing someone else, and
he could be
he's
playing
the guy that
Oni,
needs
or
it. Right, exactly. He's
they
the
could
guy
be
that we
playing
really
edge players, which would be better. Um, so let's maybe move on to the offense quickly, as I know you were saying people were worried about Lamar Miller maybe having like an injury. Andrew Abraham, a friend of the show, just said Miller said he suffered no injury. His
Mm.
ankle was just getting taped. Um, and he doesn't know why he didn't get any more second half carries.
Yeah, it was like a complete 180 from the first half. I mean, you saw everything you wanted to see in the first half. Second half, I mean, was really marred by a couple
It's really
drops.
like the Washington game.
Yes.
Washington game, even after the first drive of the second half, um, and they handed the ball to Lamar Miller twice in that game, 4 times in this game. Just lost the balance. As soon as you lose balance, it's like you saw Tannehill was doing well to extend plays in the
Yeah.
pocket, outside of the pocket, but just your timing being ruined, then it means that, as we saw, like the Giants were playing good man, like cat coverage, and like sticking to their wide receivers, not allowing much space. Landry made 1 or 2 good plays to like get room and scramble drill, but broken down plays, by the nature of them being broken down, have more variables to them.
Also, not
So
something that Miami's used to.
no,
You know, Miami. This
they
is
really
really the first
struggled
game we've
early in
seen
the
that.
year as well. Like
Yeah.
the one those sideline throws to Stills on scramble drills. Um, so yeah, I don't think that was great. The fourth quarter just was like pretty bad, like bad execution. Like Tannehill wasn't that sharp, I don't think. Or his play in the pocket was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Cameron throw was maybe a bit late.
See, I thought that was a good throw. I mean, contact was a little early over the top, but I mean, it was a bang bang
Yeah.
play. It was good coverage. You know, it's just one of those things, man, where Cameron's now literally failed in those contested catch situations like 90% of the time.
And that's like a safety over the top and a guy with concussion history. Like
So
maybe
again,
it's just like closing his eyes, like, or
yeah,
just like
you
getting a
got to
bit
really
scared.
worried about like if he can ever be successful there, at least in this offense. Um, it was
Everyone
tough,
had
man. That
dropped. It was a rough game.
Parker played really poorly at the
Mm.
catch point. I mean, he just didn't fight for the ball at all. I know that like you don't want to rely on your receiver to like go up and make crazy catches all the time, but like it's kind of what you need from him. Like in a broken down play when you're scrambling and everyone is covered, you need to be able to go to your alpha receiver and sometimes get a bone.
He looked like he didn't know what he was doing on that play.
Yeah,
Like
like he didn't even expect the ball
he was
coming.
like like almost falling back inside towards the ball, where like you got to break down on the ball and up. So that was kind of just lost that whole play.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, those are things.
Happen,
And the same thing with the Tannehill to Jarvis Landry throw. Third down, scrambling. Landry's coming open there in the last second. You need a perfect throw on the run to get it there. I think that's something that comes with time. Again, we haven't seen that in this offense. I mean,
would you rather Tannehill run then? He probably could have made it to the sticks.
Yeah, I was actually hoping he would just pull it down and run it. And I know that might be revisionist history because he missed the throw. It's just not a throw that we've seen too often. And so maybe that's part of it too, is that's just a really difficult throw that we haven't seen Tannehill hit too often. We haven't seen the offense have that many opportunities even. And he did a really good job of using his legs all game, whether it be moving in the pocket, outside the pocket, even on like the read options. I thought he did a really good job. And he missed a tough throw. And look, I mean, that's the difference between a guy that's a bona fide star at the position and the difference between a young developing quarterback. And you want to see him make that throw because it's a game breaking play, obviously. But I think there were a lot of encouraging things from the offense in general tonight, even though the second half bogged down. Really, the first half I thought was so good that like you could build off of that first half, and you've got a young coordinator who, although he may not be back next year, I think that'd be pretty unlikely. There's still things that you can say, okay, well, over the next 3 weeks can we say Miami learned about themselves? What did you put on tape to say, okay, can we now take this instead of a half against a fairly bad defense? And I recognize it's a bad defense, but they still have some good players on that defense, especially cornerback. The outside cornerbacks really tightened down their coverage, I thought, in the second half. You didn't see streaking receivers wide open until 7-8 seconds into a play. So, I think that's reflective of a defense that has veterans in the right spots.
I think this was just like a game where, like, as bad as the Giants are in late game coaching, they outcoached the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
So, and then that's just like the Dolphins are undermanned coaching wise. They've fired too many guys, and I mean, there's just like no one that's coached in that kind of situation before. And also, you kind of.
I think that's as you say that. I don't want that to come across as a negative, like revisionist saying, "Oh, well, now you're saying that you fired too many people." I don't think you're. If I'm understanding you correctly, I don't think that's what you're saying. I think
it's just like
it's just like you can't expect to win.
Yeah,
like you can't expect to win at some point. And I know Miami was in this game, but especially defensively. I mean, defensively, this team is so lost. I mean,
and we said this from week 4. It's like
right.
You don't expect to start winning now. It's like
things don't just
games
match
they've won. Yeah. And like your chances of winning have gotten worse from firing people. They rarely get better. It's like history is pretty like set in that regard, and like logic as well kind of goes along those lines. Tannehill's whole game, I know you just posted his accuracy charts. What did you think of his game? I mean, he threw a lot.
Yeah. It's pretty good game overall. Again, he missed on some of those game-breaking plays. But, I mean, he gave his receivers a chance to go get the ball a couple times, and they didn't. And I'm not saying the receivers are fully to blame, but, I mean, it's just the fumble with Sims, the drop from Cameron, the drop from Landry, the 15-yard penalty on Landry. I mean, I just don't understand with this playmaker core. These are good players. I mean, some of these guys, I mean, we've never said this whole season that we've never made the excuse that Tannehill doesn't have the receivers. I don't think. I do think it's fair to really question the amount of drops, the amount of just kind of miscommunication. I think miscommunications is more of like an offense in general thing and coaching thing more so than talent. But I mean, in terms of talent, I mean, this team has the talent. I just don't understand what's going wrong in the process in the building where Jarvis Landry can't control himself. I mean, how many personal fouls does he have this year? Is it like 5? He's had like 3 or 5, like between 3 and 5. I mean, that's crippling. We know that Jason Fox obviously is very limited, and all that contributes. But I thought Tannehill played rather well outside, even though those factors happened. And again, did he make a couple mistakes and missing a couple throws here and there? I mean, really, what can you think of another throw that he really missed? I mean, I thought the only bad one that he missed was the one to Landry.
And the Damian Williams was maybe like off by a tick, but that's not really a bad fruit. It's like that could just be like half a step wrong by either person.
And that's a guy that you're not really ever using in that role.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen Lamar Miller in that role instead. One, he's faster. Two, he's a better receiver. Three, I would think he's more likely to receive those reps in practice. I mean, it's just weird how they use their main targets in this offense. Like using Deion Sims and Damian Williams as your main target on like more than a gadget play here and there. I mean, I know like you want to be able to make everybody a threat within the offense, but
then you throw half the time to Landry, so
right. So it's like it's just disproportionate, and maybe it's just growing pains with a young offense that is trying their best to like implement all these things with a month to go in the season. And again, I would rather put too much on their plate and then you maybe scale it back later. But I thought the overwhelmingly positives were the audibles, the protection changes. I thought you visibly saw that stuff, and there were some major plays that came off of that. I think those are big positives moving forward. And again, your goal isn't to win this game. Like as a fan, you got an exciting game. You got progress on offense. You know who the weakness is on offense. You know Dallas Thomas is going to get you a couple killer plays in a game. You know that Jason Fox is terrible. So
Deion Sims is pretty bad against the run.
Pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, Deion Sims
stop calling him an inline tight end. He's just a bad tight end.
Yeah.
Just because someone's not good at catching doesn't make them good at something else. It's
and
the same with like special teams players. Like people call them special teams ace. Like there's terrible special teams players.
Yeah, and I mean, I was hopeful that he would do well in his third season, but I mean, he hasn't.
Trash.
He hasn't. I mean, and it's not huge. I mean, it's a day 3 pick, but I mean, I thought there were signs last year of him improving, and you really haven't seen him.
But maybe he's the reason why like you don't hold on to Clay, or like there's big picture moves that change because of like his role. And it's a worry that your head coach is like the head coach came from the tight end room, and the usage of the tight ends is being really bad under Campbell.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like almost the biggest red flag against Campbell is like, why is like, let alone why is Sims is even on the field? Why is he like split out as a wide receiver? Like even that comeback route he ran was like pretty awful. And like caught it in his body, and it's just like even his catches are like labored and horrible. Like his good plays are bad. So yeah, he's just frustrating, and he's not an inline blocker. He might like the odd outside zone run, he'll block well if he's the front side of the play. That's about it. Is there anyone else we should talk about? Miller looked really great the first half.
Oh yeah.
All the things that people said he wasn't, making big plays, explosive, cutting, patience behind the line of scrimmage. And I mean, it's just funny that people like think he's bad, or did think he was bad, or tried to make excuses for why he wasn't playing, when it's just
darn good player, man. Darn good player. I love watching him. He's really one of my favorite running backs to watch in the NFL. Like Todd Gurley,
he developed Peterson, so much.
Yeah, like
it's incredible.
He's not like that elite talent, like, but he is like right there, man. Like he is right behind those top guys. Like he's not Jamal
every
Charles,
year
but he's right behind them.
Every year he gets better. Like 2 years ago, it was his patience, like second level manipulation of linebackers. This year, it's been like improving his hands, his route running. He's always been a really good pass protector. He actually had a really good, at least like extended the play in pass protection, although like the backs aren't asked to do much this year. he did pretty well. Should we talk about Tannehill being used more in the read option? So
Yeah.
last week we saw some hurry up. We saw a little bit this week, and we saw read option for maybe the first time this year. So
Yeah, I mean, at least at like a heavy dose. That was great
yeah,
to see. I mean, Tannehill looked good, man. He looked confident. He looked decisive. There are times when he runs where it looks like he's got cement feet and he's very heavy footed, but I didn't really see that tonight. I thought that you saw that athleticism on display. Again, these are areas in an offense, in a functional offense, that you want to see as part of a weekly staple. Um, you saw some hints of that, and you saw them have success with that. So that was pretty good to see.
and it helps the running game as well for
Mm-hmm.
even the backs because it takes away that unblocked blocker that you don't need to have a Dion Sims blocking, and then Dion Sims can take out a linebacker out of the box as well by running a route. Um, so yeah, hopefully we see more of that, and hopefully like the next coordinator, whoever it is, or head coach, like features that as part of the offense. 'Cause, he's a pretty smart. Like most of the time you run read option, he's either taking it outside or inside that the t- the outside receiver. So generally, he can make a play to the sideline and it's fine. And he's not going to get hit much. And like, I mean, he gets hit so much. I think he's kind of used to it, and he
Yeah.
probably enjoys like hits against safeties and corners when he knows it's coming, and he's like also um, like has some momentum towards it. That's probably like a funner hit for him, and like an adrenaline hit. Whereas like just getting pounded from the backside is
It's
not
almost
that fun.
it's like a love tap in
Yeah,
comparison. No, I mean, like the one thing is, man, is like you can never say that he's not a tough quarterback. Like I mean, you could dislike him. I mean, I don't know why people like really dislike him. Honestly, like he's a good. I
he's
think he's
not
a
Dan
good young.
Marino.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good young quarterback. I mean, by the way, like you see, you can go look in Seattle. Russell Wilson has just finally hit his peak, and look at how much he's had for help there over the last several years. The last month that he's played is really what they've been waiting on for him to hit. Um, so I mean, look, man. I mean, it takes time. It takes time. It takes a lot of help. I mean, like I said, is Tannehill
Cam was
blameless?
getting slammed like this time last year.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Like
So,
people hate it. Like, and he's like you mentioned before the show, he might be the best quarterback in the NFL this year. Now,
and he's
obviously,
like
do
the
we
same.
expect Tannehill to get there? I don't. I mean, I don't know if I expect Tannehill to get here. I don't think it's ever fair to really expect that. The same for Andy Dalton. I mean, we've talked about Andy Dalton before too. Like, it takes time, and I think that tonight gave you a lot of reason to say, "Hey, man, like this guy deserves a chance." Even if you're like the most staunch Tannehill hater, you can say, you know, and I'm not trying to over defend him either. Like, I honestly, I get as sick as the over defending as I do of everything else. Like, he's a good young quarterback. Like, just leave it at that. Um, but you know, like if you just really don't like Tannehill, there's no way you can watch tonight and say, like, hey, he wasn't impressive for like large chunks of the game. And yeah, did he miss a couple throws? Absolutely. And those are things that you now want to go back and work on. Like, those should be motivation to go back and work
Yeah.
on those. And
Go
he's the
watch
type
Carson
of,
Palmer, who's like one of the
oh
best
my
quarterbacks.
gosh,
Is yeah,
yeah.
like he has terrible plays,
Oh yeah,
but
he's
he
this
has
variant
enough
of
good ones.
everybody.
Yeah, so it's
And not
just
only that, but he also has like an elite head coach, and he has also
yeah.
got like literally one of the best surrounding casts in the NFL, like top five surrounding cast in the NFL, and a great
Arians' offense
defense.
is always just like
Oh, it's
so
beautiful.
dynamic. Yeah,
It's beautiful. I would love to see Miami in that with that offense, and it's funny because people are now saying, hey, you know, you guys have been saying that right on the pod as far as like when this offense gets vertical. Well, I mean, we saw that again. We
yeah.
saw it
Early in
today,
this game,
right? And
it's
like that's
vertical
what
and
happens.
running. Vertical because then you're taking advantage of
Deeper safeties. Yep,
yeah.
deeper safeties. Cornerbacks are no longer able to crash off the edge quickly. I mean, it's just. I mean, it all makes sense. It's just a numbers game. That's all football is a numbers game, and who can execute in tight spaces. Generally, that's where the game's decided. And Miami did a good job at times, and then they had a few examples where right here and there you want to see that improvement. Again, I'm going to look at this game, and again, it sucks that they lost on home. It sucks that they lost a close one on Monday Night Football.
They're a road dog. I mean, a home dog.
Oh, a home dog, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
So I
home
mean,
dog, whatever.
look, it sucks that you lose, but
against a bad Giants team. I mean,
yeah, but I mean the Dolphins are a bad team though. But we
I know,
know
yeah.
that the Dolphins are a bad team right now. That they have all the marks of a bad, inconsistent team. I don't think they're far off. They need a lot of retooling on defense. Obviously, I mean I had Eli Manning at 88% accuracy, and a lot of those throws were wide open over the middle. I mean that's unacceptable. He had 3 throws past 19 yards. He had 6 throws total past 10 yards. He threw 32 times. Like, and, I mean, there's clearly work there on defense to be done. There's work on offense to be done, of course. But look, I mean, this was the most positive game that we've seen in weeks, and I
And
think
for
that's a
me,
good
it's
thing.
because of the way that the offense, and like we've been talking about this, where it's like a lot of people talk about like context within football, and I think that even matters in terms of the way in which. So it's like everyone's been kind of harping on like, oh, the Dolphins need to be balanced and run more, but it's also like how you run. So you have to run within the context of how you're passing and how the whole offense is put together. It's not just like a math equation where it's like, I know all the tweets come out where it's like, if Miller runs 13 times, the Dolphins win. But part of that is like, well, you run out clock, so then Miller's probably going to get handed the ball 3 extra times or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's the context of and how you're running and how the passing attack is. It's like before the year, if someone had told me like Landry's going to get 100 receptions, that's going to be a terrible year for Miami then, because of the way in which Landry's used so close to the line of scrimmage. That means, okay, it's going to be condensed, tight. They're not going to be running the ball because they use Landry as a de facto running game. So it's like Landry needs to become like less of a safety blanket for the offense and just like thinking he's easy yards. 'Cause one, he's making yards really hard, and he doesn't help the offense as much as like he could be a really great weapon on 3rd down and be like Charles Clay was, where he makes hard yards when you need them and can be more reliable than other players, but he's not a running game, and that's how, to me, like the way in which he's being used is like, oh, you just hand it to him and the worst you're getting is 3 yards, whereas like it's not that simple. Like he has more detrimental effects. Just keep throwing to short passes to one guy. Should we talk more about defensively? Because we haven't really talked about. I mean, McAdoo's just smart, where he just like gassed the defense. The Dolphins, since Philbin's left, don't really rotate defensive ends. They couldn't really rotate defensive tackles because Earl Mitchell didn't really play any of the second half. DeAndre Coleman played a little bit. Do you think that's just a factor of like, again, like bad coaching and being stubborn and wanting to keep veterans on regardless? In terms of the edge play, at least.
Yeah. I mean, McAdoo just coached circles around anything Miami can do. They continually just attack the weaknesses of the defense. And I mean, that's why like we were able to say 6 games into McAdoo in New York, where we were like, holy crap, like what he's doing is like for real. They came in with a clear, concise plan, and Miami did too, for the record. And then the second half came, and you could tell like, it's one thing like I wouldn't forgive Bill Lazor for that, but I will give Taylor a little bit less slack, even though, you need to run the ball a little bit more than what they did with Miller since he was so hot. It's one thing if it's not working, but yeah, no, I give a lot of credit, and I think that the Giants were really well coached compared to Miami this game, and really attacking that middle of the field. Man, they were relentless in assaulting the middle of the field.
Especially with just like the limitations of the linebackers to kind of
to
help out the inside leverage for corners.
And of course, I mean, and they do with Beckham what you want to see Miami do with Parker, where they'll just throw it his general direction and let him go get it, and that's where you want to see Parker now kind of take that next step and say, go out there, and when I throw you a jump ball, you need to come down with it, they call it a 50-50 ball, but the reality is that when you look at top number one receivers around the league, it's more like a 75-25 ball. Like, chances are you're either going to pull in a defensive pass interference or you're going to come down with that damn ball. And you can't let the defender touch that ball first. I just thought there were 2 or 3 situations there where Parker didn't get to the ball, and there was a comeback route as well later where he ran a really lazy route. Defender just kind of crashed down on it. So I mean, again, I'm not freaking.
One reception was good. The in-breaking route, that's kind of been where he's looked his best.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that's still good to like see that. And there was kind of like sharpness to the feet. 'Cause to me, that was like, we were both really high on Beckham coming out. I had him as my top wide receiver, and it was all about feet and lower body control, and that with being able to like catch everything. And that was partly because Met threw it everywhere. So he had to catch it from everywhere. But it was like the lower body, feet, explosion, control. And so we see that on some routes with Parker, but not with them all. So that's kind of like one area, like once your lower body is like so controlled and balanced. And that's like one area where like Beckham is far superior to Landry, in my opinion, as well. Whereas Landry's feet, he has some explosion at times, but there's not that like that agileness, and his knees have to come up quite high. Whereas just like you can tell, Odell Beckham played a lot of like my football, lawn football, just the way in which his lower body works. Whereas like Landry is like very much more straight lined in terms of his lower body, like his hips, knees, and feet are always in line, whereas Parker's are like often mental angles. Same as Jay Ajayi, like his lower body just like contorts, and that's like an English football type thing where you're not playing within structure as much, so you're more free flowing below your hips. And maybe Victor Cruz has that from like Latin dancing or something as well. So maybe it's need to have less regimented wide receivers. Maybe that'll be the key. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on this game? 'Cause to me, it was a good loss.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun game. I mean, I'd rather have
drank a lot of tequila though.
No. I mean, I was talking to a buddy, and I mean, he's not a Dolphins fan. He's not a Giants fan. And he was like, man, like this is one of the first like primetime games I've actually really enjoyed. He was like, Miami's balling out on offense. Giants are playing really well on offense. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like I just give I'm giving a lot of credit to the Giants because although Miami's weaknesses are so clear, you don't always see
teams exploit them.
Right. And consistently. And it was happening almost every drive. They even continued to try to run the ball despite having a pretty bad running game. The Giants, I like Rashad Jennings, but it's like a lot of their dudes are just kind of meh. And Andre Williams is a pretty bad running back. So, they came in with a good game plan. They executed it well. Eli Manning had a really good game as far as hitting his spots, good timing, reading the defense. And I mean, I'm just saying, like, sometimes it's going to happen with this defense every week, and veteran quarterbacks are going to just keep doing it. I wouldn't expect the offense to overcome that when it's really not hard to score on this team. I mean, if this was Madden, and I know it's not, but it's like, compare this to Madden when like you're playing like your little brother, and your little brother just calls like the same couple plays on defense every time, so you're just hammering him. That's kind of like Miami. They're just not good enough on defense to stop them. So it's, again, the goal right now is not to win, and I know that sucks, but Miami's officially eliminated from the playoffs now. So, like, it's, again, I'm not rooting for them to lose. I'm not saying anyone should root for them to lose. If you are, I have no problem with you. If you're rooting for them to win every week, I have no problem with you. I totally understand both sides of the argument. Me personally, tonight's the type of game I want every single game for the rest of this season. For the last 3 weeks, I want the offense to show progress. I want Tannehill to look good with audibles and understanding concepts of the offense and leverage and spacing, reading a defense, him moving a safety a couple times, moving underneath linebackers. Those are the things you want to see. I don't really.
That third down play was a good example of like holding the safety, the one to Landry, the out. That was a really impressive play. And it's nice we got to see all 22 of it as well early. So that always helps.
Absolutely.
Shall we talk about the touchdown where Twitter had a field day about Tannehill audibling? To me, it's pretty hilarious that that's like a thing. Like that should just be like a normal play for a quarterback. So that just kind of speaks volumes at how stupid the offense has been up until this date. That literally a quarterback having a second option to take advantage of how the defense is playing is somehow like this mythical beast. So I guess that answers the question. Like Tannehill can count and work out which plays better than another.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of weird. Like the way Twitter made me feel about him is that like he was some missing brain cells, or like literally working with like a quarter of a brain, or he had both eyes gouged out.
Whereas I think we were probably right, and maybe it's because like we spent more time like looking at Laser, and it's just Laser's a control freak.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of proven right on that.
Yeah, it just continues to make our worst suspicions about. I mean, because it was going to go either way. It was either Tannehill's a freaking retard, and I don't mean that in like the mentally handicapped sense. I mean like he's just like literally lacking brain cells.
Because like making changes at the line of scrimmage is not hard.
It's so basic. It's so basic. Like I said, I mean, it's not to be offensive or anything like that, but you know,
it's literally counting and just remembering a second thing to do, and being able to tell other people what that second thing is that you've already told them in a huddle. Like, it's really not that hard. And it's like this is a thing. Like I think people like coaches and former players try and mythicize football so much and like make it seem complicated. It's pretty simple stuff. It's like it's hard to probably remember like some playbooks, and like I'm sure the Patriots is like taxing because like you have to learn so many different things and like change so much.
Mm-hmm. That's why they always stress that they're looking for a certain type of player.
Yeah,
they put them in limited. They put them in very limited roles.
Yeah, you have boundaries, and you have.
Yep.
And that's why they're really good, and they're smart because they give certain players that they've had for a long time freedom, and other players tight boundaries that they succeed in.
Yep, absolutely.
But I mean, yeah, football's not that complicated, and especially like remembering two plays is not hard, and being able to count is not hard. That's literally what Tannehill did on that play. And he was right, and it's like it makes football way easier when you can. Because basically, my theory was, and like this even came. I mean, he basically thought whatever he drew up would be any defense. That's basically what he was saying by limiting the ability of Tannehill, and that's just pretty like egotistical. And from everything we heard for a long time, and like we're seeing more and more stuff now come out, like Greg Jennings shitting on him as well. I mean, I asked a beat writer when they were in London last year if they had like heard stories from like the Eagles about Laser that, I mean, were everywhere, and they hadn't. So it's just interesting that it's like it's taken a while for this to come out, and maybe it's because like Laser was open with the media and would like talk a lot, and it's like jovial.
It must have been like a big source.
Yeah,
because we haven't heard like anything leak. Players put all their names on.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean,
all the dirt has been like
so
name association.
So look at the two places that all this stuff comes from. One, it comes from a certain Miami beat writer who for some reason just always seems to like have an axe to grind with a certain player, certain quarterback on Miami. And then also
I may have them blocked, so I don't know who you're talking about. I have quite a lot of. I have most of. I only have Barry Jackson and Andrew Abraham are the only guys.
Yeah, those are the great guys.
I have blocked. I know who I follow. Then I might have a couple other people not blocked. So I see their tweets the odd time. But for the most part, I feel better. And Barry's getting bad now. Like he was calling out, like it must have been like the ESPN crew or whatever, for talking about like the culture in Miami, and then saying not talking about the blocking. But I mean, all he does is cite PFF when he talks about blocking, so it's not like he's any better.
No, but I love Barry, and I
Very
don't think
sources
he
though.
doesn't
It's
pretend.
like
Yeah, he doesn't pretend to break down the game
been
too
getting out of line. No, but he gets out of line and then just uses one. It's like so. Okay, well, let's talk about Pro Football Focus for like a bit, and then we'll leave. So it seems to be like the only source of like stats for ranking offensive linemen is Pro Football Focus. So Barry Jackson will just write, and many other people do this. They'll say like the lowest rank graded lineman or something. But to me, Pro Football Focus is like one person's opinion, because that's what it is. They are grades. They're in the same way as you see draft grades. They're people's opinion on how they played. Pro Football Focus uses a system in which grades results as well. So it's some player can be and there's no like they don't tell you who's getting help, they have that information, they just don't tell people, and it doesn't cater into their grades from what I know. So there's so little context with that grade, and then it's just banded around as that's the holy, like at least some people do that, like, oh well, they're a terrible lineman because look how low they are on Pro Football Focus. And then like that doesn't even take into consideration like all the different things players are asked to do. But anyway, so stop using it, Barry. Just keep to your sources, do what you're good at. I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on, or?
No, I don't think so. Who's next on the docket? Who's next week?
It's not the Colts or the Pats of the last two games. It's the one before that. Have we played the Bills twice? Yeah.
Yeah.
We should. This is so bad that we don't even know the freaking schedule.
It's Chargers. It's Chargers.
Oh, Chargers. Okay,
yeah.
so that's probably a winnable game.
Yeah, that's probably a win. So
that's the funny thing. Is like the Dolphins could probably win the next two games.
I mean, this was a winnable game too. I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
they can't get to 500 now, though, can they?
No. No, they can. They're 5-8.
Oh, 5-8. Okay. And so 8.5 was the season over under. So if you bet the over, they need to win out. So it's pretty tight. That might not happen now with the Patriots. Probably, like they look good with Gronk.
Yeah. Well,
is there anything from this week that was interesting?
Only important thing to me right now is my fantasy team, and I have won 10 straight weeks, and I'm about to play my best friend in the final, and when I beat him, I am going to rub it in his face. My team is made up of almost all receivers. I have Tom Brady, Gronkowski. It's a keeper league. And then I've got Allen Robinson, Julio Jones. Who's the other beast receiver I've got? Nuke. I've got Nuke Hopkins. And basically my best running back all season was Jonathan Stewart, who's not bad. Glad I took a risk on him. But then my other best guy is like DeMarco Murray. So like I'm actually starting like Shakardrick West every week and still winning games. So highest scoring team in my league. Not that anyone should care. I trust me, I don't care about your fantasy team.
My MFL 10s are doing well because I have like Ben Watson, Cam Newton, DeAngelo Williams, and like in all my leagues and Nuke. So and then they're all just falling out. Like Ben Watson was 20th pick in every one, and he's like the highest scoring tight end pretty much. So MFL 10s are good. I'm probably gonna I'm gonna quadruple my money in them.
It was kind of fun.
I love
doing that.
I'm probably gonna do those more than I'm backing out of most of my leagues and just doing MFL 10s because you don't need to worry about them, and
you
can just draft tons.
Yeah, No, I
So
totally
I
agree.
highly recommend people doing them. You can start as well, like pretty much straight after the draft, or maybe free agency. So it's fun, and they're just like, yeah, and you like draft them over a long period of time, so they're fun. So that's I think our first fantasy content. So yeah, we're getting well, we're working on our marketability. Um, I guess so. I think we'll do a show later in the week where we'll talk about the Chargers game. Should be able to get pretty good guests on for that. We'll ask around. There's Chargers people, and we're going to do head coaching profiles on Doug Marrone, and I think someone asked for who was it? Oh, the Panthers offensive coordinator.
Oh, Shula?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe
So
we'll
do.
wait on
I
him.
think we'll do it, but I mean that would be quick. I think we're both on the no Shula
Yeah.
train, but I think it's still like important to like he's going to be a hot name, and say I think we should cover him still and give everyone the same time. But Marone's an interesting name. He's been out of the league for a year, and it's kind of interesting. Even like last year, there was like because he obviously quit the Bills job, and there was really good PR by his team to like sound like he was going to walk into another job. So he's kind of an interesting name, and he's been banded about a bit again. So whether that's PR or real noise, we'll find out. So that would be probably Thursday night, Friday morning, and don't be too sad about like the Dolphins didn't embarrass themselves, so that's good.
Yeah. I mean, national
I think that's the
TV.
way.
Yeah, not going on back because like that's where really like people will piss you off over the off season is they're going to go back to like these national games. Worst thing they can say right now is that your defense sucks, and you're going to say, well, guess what? Yeah, been saying that for a year and a half.
Only 3 of them are going to be on the team next year that played any meaningful downs.
Right. I mean, ever since that game-winning drive against Green Bay, this defense has been, for the most part, terrible. So hey, whatever.
Oh my god, that Cortland Finnegan play. Jesus Christ.
Bringing up those bad memories.
Oh my god, just keep him in bounds. Jeez. Oh. But anyway, Finnegan's going to win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
On an unbeaten team.
It's a ring chaser, damn it.
Yeah.
Nah, I root for Finnegan. I hope he gets it.
It's a shame Benny Benrickery got hurt, and that was sad.
Yeah, he's a fun player.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the Panthers are fun. And they're a reason to, yeah, like if you thought about the Panthers like 2 years ago, I mean, even this year, people were like slamming the offensive line. Even the corner, like Norman came pretty quick. But like Norman's an interesting player. Like people would say like, oh, he's like a 5th-round pick. You can get players anywhere. It's like it took him 3.5 years to like really get going.
Yeah,
like,
and it's a very friendly scheme too. Like people don't realize that.
Oh yeah.
Most of what they run is cover 2. So they've always got someone in the area.
With like,
and he's really, really good.
Take miles out. Like,
right.
Make those zones so small.
So
yeah,
it's possible, but I mean, just don't count on really, really good players coming in here as rookie cornerbacks.
Yeah, especially cornerbacks. Like, there's no Marcus Peters or Desmond Trufant. There's a reason why, like, we were singing about Marcus Peters. Yeah. And that's because
we understand how rare it is to find them.
And like, you can be a good corner prospect and not be good for 2 years.
Yeah,
like that's normal. Like Marcus Peters was just like another breed.
And put it this way, I mean, probably the top guy, at least for me this year, is I have to chart him still, so don't hold me to this, but Mackenzie Alexander.
Oh yeah, he's my top one as well, but he's still not like top 50.
He's going to be like 2 years from now.
Yeah,
because he's a guy that I mean, he is. I don't think he even has an interception in his career, does he?
I can't. I'm bad at stats. I can't recall one, but my mind might be bad.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm gonna bring it up real quick. But yeah, I mean, like, so that's not really like an ideal situation when like the top cornerback in the draft is And then, now I don't know with him though. Him is weird because I don't know. He doesn't get targeted often. So for him, I don't know if it's And again, I'm going to go back and chart this stuff, so I'll be able
Is
to.
he playing Senior Bowl or?
No, he's a sophomore. He's a redshirt sophomore. No, he has zero career interceptions, and he's had 5 games where he's not logged a stat in the entire game because he just doesn't get targeted. I think he has something like 3 run stops too over the course of the entire year. So he's just, I mean, that's the thing.
Combine drills will be important then.
Yeah, so like
people try and play down combine this time of year, but
it matters. That stuff matters. Like you're going to see Vernon Hargrave stock like really drop. I think he's going to be like he's going to go. He'll probably go top 15, but if he doesn't go like top 7, people are going to be shocked. And the reality is, it's just like teams don't want unathletic off-ball cornerbacks. Like it doesn't work for most teams. So, and that's not a knock on Hargraves. Again, I think he's a pretty strong prospect, but I don't see him as like a superstar or anything like that.
Trey Waynes is not good, and that's just like you don't want to go too far the other way where like you fall in love with.
Right. Don't fall in love with guys that are just football players. Yeah, don't fall in love with dudes that are just football players, because guess what? They become just football players. Like they don't become studs. They don't become good starters. He was just a football player. Like that's kind of like the saying goes.
Poor Reef. I feel so sorry for Vikings.
There's hope. There's hope.
He's got. If anyone's going to do it, coach him right. It'll be Zimmer.
Right, and there's hope too, because that was a really, really, really bad matchup. For them the other night. So like, there's still some hope.
There's never a good matchup though. For Trey Waynes.
That's a good point. Let me be a little positive here. Let me be a little positive.
At least you don't have to watch Joe Hayden anymore this year. So there's another positive. But anyway, we've rambled on for too long, and it's 6 a.m. here. So this will be up in Wednesday morning. Thanks for listening. You can follow the show at MiamiPod. They're MiamiPod.com. If you like us and want to donate, there's a donate button, the MiamiPod.com/donate. You can find the show at iTunes and Stitcher. Thanks. I think we're at like 11 or 16 if you count the British iTunes 5-star reviews. So thanks for those. I think if you write reviews as well, that's good. So, I mean, I think you can just swear in those and stuff, and like it's still like is positive. I think it's just like the interaction is good. And you can follow Ian at NFL Film Study and find his work at Bleacher Report and draftcentric.weebly.com. And you can follow my NutriBullet tequila drinking habits this week at Oscar Hazel. So look out for that. Yeah. Today I drank like 2 small bottles of tequila whilst running on a CrossFit whilst watching the game, and it was great. So that's going to be my new regiment. Pretend I'm exercising when really I'm drinking tequila. So there you go. But anyway, thanks for listening, and we'll be back with the next show Thursday-ish, probably. All right, goodbye.